So it's where you live on Earth has an effect. Don't you think the Africans always seem so jolly? Somehow. And they don't have those degenerative bone illnesses. So vitamin D creates melatonin, and melatonin creates a lot of other hormones. Also, they make happy hormones. So when you don't have vitamin D, you don't have melatonin, you don't have the make happy hormones. And then also how that our bones are getting fed also is dependent on vitamin D. So when you have osteoporosis, the bones that are porous, and the people just fall somewhere when they are old and they all of a sudden break their bones. That's due to this sun not giving us enough vitamin D, and then also not intaking enough. The Africans don't have this problem. Nowhere. Yeah, so depending on where you live, that's a bit like macrobiotics talks as well. It changes what you need to eat. So maybe in Europe you need to cook the veggies in winter time and you can eat them raw during summer. Maybe you need something warm because it's just so freaking cold here. I used to live in that house in the eastern district of Switzerland, and it was 8 degrees Celsius at night, or at daytime, anytime, inside. And here, last winter, it was 5 degrees Celsius. So in that house in the eastern of Switzerland, I'm a bit crazy and I'm into this survival thing, prepping and all. So I wanted to see what happens. So what happens is your fingers and your feet, they freeze off. And I tell you, you don't see it coming. You just have cold feet all the time and cold hands. And when you have these freezing things happening, it's already too late. So the hands get swollen and red, and the feet, long after they have recovered, will still have red, sort of. Not blisters, nothing open, but something like red from underneath coming up. That one has stopped. It was 2014 that I had that. 15 or 16, somewhere there. First year, I had like 2 winters there. So it was either, these years, somewhere in the winter in between of those years. So yeah, I now know what I need to do. It's like keep warm. So in here I got a down overall that I put on, and then my hands, when I am working on the computer, of course they get cold. So now I moved up onto a table. I'm working in the mid of the room, this means. So I know that the temperature is coldest on the floor. A bit higher up, it's 1 degree maybe, whatever it is, it's warmer. I'm not measuring anymore, I've done that endlessly. So I just know I need to move up on a table. And then also, put on warm clothes, woolen clothes, socks and all of that. When I'm moving outside, I always get warm. But inside, when I'm working on the computer. So I told you about the diets and then how I was kind of going through them and changing my eating habits. So I went from intaking sugar via the chocolate bars and coffee and milk and sugar via the coffee that I drank like a liter a day, was like half a liter, and another half a liter I would drink. So I went from there to eat veggies and then fruits as well. I had fruit juices. I'm not doing that anymore. You can buy them in Switzerland. There is a lot of wholesome food stores, so you can buy juices and this and that, and you think everything that stores selling thick one of these at once. It's also a little bit because they're salty. Feta cheese is always very salty. But yeah, so I'm not buying the normal cheese because cheese is not digested. Cheese closes the stomach. It's always the very one says at tables in Europe, because it's true. It doesn't get digested, so actually after having eaten cheese, right there you shouldn't eat anymore. And that's why you close a meal by eating some cheese, drink some wine. Yeah, stupid. Everything we do in Switzerland is stupid. I'll tell you about the café complet, the meal that we have with all the nasty ingredients. Yeah, I have put in some more hot water into the tub. Well, in Switzerland we got that meal. It's called café complet, so it means a complete coffee. So that's always served in the evenings. So you would cook potatoes and then you would put them on the table for everybody to peel by themselves. Then you get coffee, milk, sugar, of course, and butter, cheese, maybe curd. I now learned the word for quark. Yeah, and that's the meal. Some mustard, some mayonnaise. Mustard is good. All these mustard oils, they help the body a lot. When I was doing the sprouting, I had a lot of radish, mustard. There were two kinds of mustard, two kinds of radish, and what else was with those mustard oils? I've forgotten. Well, I had those sprouts, and I was always like buying stuff and then learning alongside. So in my cupboard, the things weren't just thrown in there somehow. I was always grouping them so that I was always learning while I kind of was eating from them. Lentil sprouts are the nicest of all of them. The smell of the fresh lentil sprouts is so intriguing. You want to eat, 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 eat. And actually, I don't care about the lectins so much anymore. I know that the tomato, the lectins thereof, are something that weakens people. So, even though the Mediterranean diet has a lot of tomatoes, but those people also are a bit lazy, if you ask me. They just are a bit more on the lazy side. I've been to Italy, so the way I look at it, the Germans are much more busy and straight, and yeah, so maybe that's because of the lots of tomatoes they eat. So in my book about the blood diet, it said that tomatoes in certain countries were given by opposing tribes. One tribe was giving it to the other to weaken them before a fight next day. The tomato. So yeah, the garlic is another topic. Some say what a cow wouldn't eat, you shouldn't eat. Like garlic. On the other hand, garlic, you can use it to get rid of bacteria, fungi in the garden. Oh yeah, it says it's so forceful, it can get rid of that in the garden, and it doesn't affect the good bacteria, like in the soil, all those bacteria, you need them. But the garlic you can use when you've got conditions in your garden. But we aren't a garden, we are a human being, so how is it there? Maybe you just need to chop them up and then let them be out there in the open to lose their toxicity. that's a separate system, your blood system. But nevertheless, it said that the bullets in a certain war were drowned in garlic. So even when they kind of missed vital organs, the people later would die because that garlic had contact to those people's blood. Yeah. So now question is, what is true? Tell me. Like zeolite. A lot of zeolite is sold to take orally, and it needs to be taken away from all the other minerals because it would just carry those minerals out. So when I had bought my water filter, you cannot just drink the water that comes out as tap water at home. That's not possible. You need to filter it and remineralize it and give it a whirl according to what I've read and saw on the internet. So I had some zeolite in there for like 4 years in the water tank, but now I've thrown the water tank away and I don't want to have this overly alkaline water at all the time. It was overly alkaline rather than just neutral as water would normally be, because then it wouldn't rot away in that water tank. But now I'm doing it differently. I've got zeolite pills, so whenever I want to have that detox effect, I would just eat, and then 6 hours later I would detox with those zeolite pills. And then also the water. When I make water, I make like half a liter and drink it. It's not that I'm doing some water in a 8-liter tank and I have it standing there for 2 days and I don't know how old the water is that I actually do drink. See, it takes a lot of adjustments and thinking about what you're actually doing to get to some sort of a healthy something. And I must know because I started with chocolate bars and coffee. That was literally what I ate all throughout my artist's career at schools. I was not having enough minerals, not having enough vitamin D, not really liking the sunlight, but due to that I loved it a lot to be inside in a dark room and cut videos. I got a lot of art videos made in 3 years because of that. Another school was the same, the rooms were dark there too. There I did other stuff, photographing, videoing and cutting and doing photoshopping, which will be GIMP, the free GIMP that is out. That's the Photoshop actually, GIMP. Yeah, well, nowadays you can Google everything. I'm sure, is there a free Photoshop? GIMP will be prompted. So